This session is divided in three sections. First, we will see what are polyfills, and then we will write a few polyfills. And lastly, we will see what all packages are available to implement polyfills in our projects. So first of all, what are polyfills? So polyfill is a piece of code that provides functionality working in modern browsers to work in older browsers. So as we all know, JavaScript is evolving very quickly. After ES6, it introduced many features which were not compatible with some older browsers. So for examples, arrow functions, as we know, arrow function is a shorthand for writing functions in JavaScript. And as you can see from this table, that arrow functions are supported by most of the browsers like Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. But Internet Explorer does not natively support arrow functions. So in that case, our code will not be displayed on Internet Explorer. Similarly, we can see Promise as well. That Promise is supported by most of the browsers, but it is not supported by Internet Explorer. So to rectify this problem, we the polyfills came to the role. So polyfill bridges the gap between JavaScript implementations and allow us to code as if every browser supported the feature. So what Polyfill actually does is if Internet Explorer is not supporting certain methods, so Polyfill will create a simulative function of that specific method so that Internet Explorer can also read that method. So now we will write a few polyfills. So till now, you must have gotten an idea that writing polyfills is like writing a custom function, which replicates the functionality of a function which is not compatible with older browsers. For example, if we have consider a map function, if map function is not supported by Internet Explorer, what we will do is we will create a duplicate or we will create a simulating similar kind of custom function which has the same functionality as that of map function. So to create custom functions, we can use prototype method. So prototype methods can be used to create custom functions as, for example, we can create a custom function. This is my function, is my custom function, and I can create custom function inside this array methods. As you know, array has a lot of methods: filter, map, reduce. So what we can do is we can create our own function as well in this in the methods of array, and we can implement that functionality here, or we can create a custom functions by scratch without using any prototypes. So for this session, we will be creating functions from scratch and we will not be using prototypes. So let's create a polyfill of map function. So what map does is map method reduces map method returns a new array by iterating all the elements of the array over a specific function. So let's suppose we have an array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I am using map method here on this array. And what I'm doing is on for every value of this array, I am multiplying it with itself. So I'm squaring the all the values of this array using the method map. So this is the output. So it always returns a new array. So our parent array, which is R, it is same, and it returns a new array, which is squared array, which contains the square of all the values of the parent array. So now we will try to create a simulate function of this. We'll try to create a polyfill of this map. So for that, so this is the same thing which I showed you in the PPT. This is an array and we are using map function here, and this is the output. Now we will try to will try to generate an array which contains the square which will contain the squared values of this array without using the map function. So for doing that, we will declare. So it will take two arguments, of course, the array itself and a callback function. So it map returns a new array. So we will first declare the new array and we will initialize it with an empty array. Now map function always iterates over all the values of the array. So we will also do the same thing in our customize function. We will iterate over the parent array. I would be less than array length of the array. And what we will do now, we will insert value, we'll push the values inside the new array. So we will do new array dot push, and what we will push the values returning from the callback. So the callback yet. So we will create call just after this. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing the values in the new array. And what am I pushing? I'm pushing the values returned from the callback. And now lastly, we will return the new array. And now we'll create the callback. Inside callback is the actual action we want to perform. So what we want to perform, we want to perform the squaring of elements. So we will create a callback function let elements equal. It will take a single element x and it will return the square of the element x. And now we will see if we created this polyfill map, and polyfill map expects two arguments. First one is our array, this which is our parent array, this, and the second argument is our callback, and callback we created the squaring elements. We will see, and as you can see, the polyfill maps, it is squaring the elements of array without using the map function. Any queries over this? Did I go fast or is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear for me.
Okay. This is the same thing which we have just seen, creating polyfill of the map method. Now we will create a polyfill for filter method. So filter method returns a new array with all the elements that satisfy the condition implemented by the callback. So filter also returns a new array. Filter also iterates over all the values of parent array, but it checks a condition inside a callback and it only returns those elements which satisfy that specific condition. So we will take the similar array and I have used filter method here, and it is iterating over all the values of the parent array, and it is returning those values. So this is a condition. So this is the condition for extracting the even values. As you know, even numbers are divisible by 0. So only those values will be returned which are divisible by 0. So this is the condition for extracting even numbers. So
Only divisible by 0 or divisible by 2?
did I say divisible by 0? Sorry,
Yes.
and divisible by 2 first.
एंड सेकंड थिंग ऑल्सो मैं जानना चाहता हूँ जो आपने ट्रिपल इक्वल साइन का यूज किया वहां पे डबल का यूज कर सकते हैं या ट्रिपल ही होना चाहिए?
डबल और ट्रिपल इक्वल्स में ये डिफरेंस होता है दैट इन केस वी हैड डबल इक्वल टू इट विल जस्ट चेक द न्यूमेरिक वैल्यू, the numeric result of the left hand side and right hand side, and triple equals checks the numeric result and as well as the type of left hand side and right hand side. So in case मैं यहाँ पे 0.0 लिखती and double equals to लगाती and left case में अगर मेरा
जीरो आ
value
जाता।
तो वो condition false हो जाती।
ओके, ठीक है।
So this is the result. As you can see, it has extracted all the even values from the array. So now we will try to create array, simulative function of the filter method. So this is the same thing which we have seen in the PPT. Now let polyfill filter. Again, take two arguments, the array and a callback. It returns a new array and I'm initializing it to an empty array. Then it iterates over the parent array. So now we will push only those values which are returning from the callback. So we will have a condition here. If we get something returning from a callback from the callback, in that case we will push the values inside new array. And what we will push? We will push the values returning from the callback. Then we will return the new array. So we added this condition because the callback. Okay, let me just write first the callback. So callback is returning even numbers. So we will have a function return even numbers. So it takes an element x and it will check if x modulus that case we will return x. So we added a condition over here because there will be scenarios in case this condition is failed, what it will return? It will return undefined. And in that case, for that case, we are not pushing the undefined values in our new array. So am I clear with this, that why we have added condition over here? For undefined, just to get rid of undefined values added in our new array, we have added this condition. Now we will see if we can find. The filter is expecting two arguments, array and the callback return even. So as you can see, we have just created a polyfill of filter without using filter method. Any queries over this? Okay. So next we will create a polyfill of reduce. So reduce method executes reducer function on every element of array and returns a single output value. So the callback of reduce method is also known as reducer. So what does reducer do is reducer function will perform an action and it will return a single value. So this reduce method always returns a single value. So I will just explain the functionality of reduce because I think this is quite new and we don't use this very frequently. So this is an array with values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm using reduce function. So the in the callback, I'm passing two values, accumulator and current value. Accumulator is the value, it is the initial value, and it is called accumulator because it stores the result after each iteration. So starting from the beginning, uh, here in my example, I have provided initial value to 0. So in this case, accumulator has 0 value and current value has the first value of the array, which is 1. So now we have accumulator 0 and current value as 1. Then we will perform the action, which is returning accumulator plus current value. So it will be 0 plus 1 and the result will be stored in the accumulator. So for next iteration, accumulator will be 1 and the current value will be 2. And the action will be performed 1 plus 2 would be 3. And for next iteration, accumulator will be 3 and current value will hop to the third element, which is 3. So we will perform the operation 3 plus 3, 6. And so accumulator is 6 and the current value will be 4 for next iteration. And then 6 plus 4 is 10. For next iteration, accumulator will have 10 and current value will have 5 and 10 plus 5 is 5. So that's how we are getting this 15 value. So in case, and this initial value which we have passed here as 0, it is optional. We can also skip that. And if we skip that, we will reduce one iteration. So in that scenario, our accumulator will be 1 and our current value will be 2. And the same operation is performed with 1 as accumulator and 2 as current value. So after first iteration it will be 3, then accumulator will be 3 and the next value will be current value will be 3, it will be 6 and so on. So any doubt in reduce? Only after understanding the functionality of reduce we can write the polyfill function. That's why I explained this. Okay, so now we'll create a polyfill of reduce. So let So it will take three arguments. First one would be array, second one would be callback, and third one would be our initial value, which is of course optional. And but in our case, but when we are writing custom method, uh, we will have to make sure that in case user enters initial value, so we know how to deal with that. So since polyfill returns a single value, it returns a single value and not an array, we will have let accumulator equals to initial value. So initially the accumulator has what is inside initial value. So we have initialized accumulator with the initial value and then we will loop over the parent array. So we'll loop over the parent array and what will be inside accumulator will be our callback. Callback will take two arguments, accumulator and element of array. and we will simply return later. Because in the end, accumulator stores the result and we are returning that result stored inside accumulator. Now we will create a callback function for this. So we are performing addition on the array. So we will create a callback, let's say sum, and it is expecting two arguments, which is accumulator and current value. It is simply returning accumulator plus current value. I missed the arrow. Now we'll see if this is. We will pass the array, the callback sum, and the initial value is 0. So as you can see, polyfill reduce is getting the same output as we were getting by using the reduce method. Any queries over this? Okay, so this is how we write the polyfills. We try to create the same functionality as implemented by the already implemented functions from scratch. These were the ways we can create polyfills manually, and it is necessary to know that how to create polyfills because in also in near future we can expect more new functionalities from JavaScript, and there is no guarantee that other browsers might support or might not support those functionalities. Therefore, we must know that how do we write polyfills so that our code can be run in all the browsers. So there are a few packages which are already available, which can be used in our projects so that we do not have to write manually all the polyfills. So this is a very popular one, React App Polyfill. This package, when we install in our project, it will create the polyfills on its own, and hence our project will be visible and will be displayed and will be working normally in older browsers or in incompatible browsers. In ADI, we were using this dependency, resize observer polyfill, which is now removed because Internet Explorer is no longer available. So we do not have this functionality anymore, this dependency anymore, because this was only for Internet Explorer. So this was all about. I don't know if we will be using this anymore because Internet Explorer is no more available. And maybe in future, if Mozilla Firefox doesn't support, so we can use polyfills for that. So any queries, anyone?
As is Shrivanti said that right now we're not using the Internet Explorer because it's changed. So uh, in future, as we need of any polyfills,
Your question is that is there any requirement of polyfills in future because Internet Explorer is no more active now?
yes,
Yeah, from ADI, we have removed polyfill completely. We have removed the dependency itself.
yes.
It was specifically for Internet Explorer only. And I don't think maybe in case the new features comes which are not compatible with other browsers, because as of now, most of the browsers are supporting, and Polyfills was specifically for Internet Explorer only. So not in near future we don't need Polyfills as of now, but maybe in later scenario, in case some browsers fails, we can use them.
Okay.
Uh, if we have this dependency in our project, so we don't need to write any other code for polyfills. It will be done automatically.
Yeah, it is done automatically. We have just the Polyfills dependency is installed, and that is all. It was in package.json, and additional code was and there was no additional code for this.
That's and a very wonderful presentation.
Sorry.
Uh,
It was a very wonderful
Wonderful
presentation.
presentation and nice session.
Thanks.
Okay, so let me stop the